They're going to make a deal.
It was a giant wooden horse, yeah. It's a beautiful horse. They said it honors me. It gives me an honor. Many of these European partners have not honored me. They took away my Nobel Peace Prize, but the Iranians, on the other hand, they've honored me by giving me a big, beautiful horse, the most beautiful. It's massive. Anyway.
Turning now to the
monitoring.
war with Iran, there are signs that President Trump may be seeking a deal to end the fighting. A senior foreign ministry official in Iran tells CBS News it is reviewing points received from U.S. negotiators. Iran also launched more missile strikes at Israel and other U.S. allies overnight. Ed O'Keefe is at the White House for us this morning. Ed, good morning. Good to see you.
Bro, Lib supported Biden during the It's Not a Leap. Yes, but there were plenty of liberals that actually were frustrated with Biden. Okay, that's part of the reason why Kamala Harris lost. And not only that, but also it's not Biden who's starving the island of Cuba right now, is it? Even though Biden did continue the strangulation of the island when he was president. It's Trump doing it, and he's doing it in the most Trumpian fashion, where he's just basically saying the quiet part out loud over and over again. He's like, I'm starving the island. Doesn't matter if some Cubans, that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. A new Gallup poll shows how American sympathies have shifted in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Another one, dude. God damn. Oh, no, this is the old one. It's from February 27th. Yeah, it's just unbelievably bad. Unbelievably bad.
Vlad, good to see you. President Trump said from the beginning that the war would last about 4 weeks, and we're now in that fourth week. And with markets uneasy and the cost of gas climbing, the president appears to be trying to find a way out.
They want very much to make a deal. We'd like to make a deal, too.
Touting the promise of a peace deal with Iran.
Major points of agreement, I would say almost all points of agreement.
President Trump insisted the U.S. is talking to what he called a, quote, top person.
We're dealing with the man who I believe is the most respected and the leader.
A senior Iranian foreign ministry official says Iran is reviewing points sent by the U.S. through a mediator, but no formal talks are underway. The president says the U.S. had in-depth, detailed, and constructive conversations with Iran, so he's postponed strikes on Iranian power plants for 5 days, after earlier threatening an attack on Monday if it didn't fully reopen the Strait of Hormuz.
They want peace. They've agreed they will not have a nuclear weapon.
The president said both sides have 15 points of agreement. Iran hasn't committed to any deal publicly, but stocks surged on word of the talks, and oil prices fell 10%. And with the Strait of Hormuz still effectively closed, the president suggested a unique partnership to keep oil shipments safe.
Me and the Ayatollah, whoever the Ayatollah is, whoever the next Ayatollah, look, and there'll also be a form of
It's going to be a collaborative effort. Me and the Ayatollah, we're besties. I've long said that I embody the spirit of Ali. Ya Ali, I say, over and over again as I thump my chest.
May Allah awaken the people and help them to see the evil doings of Israel and the United States. Regime change.
Now, despite the president's attempts to start talks with Iran, more than 2,000 Marines and 3 more warships are headed to the region. And CBS News has learned this morning Pakistan and Turkey are among the countries trying to get the U.S. and Iran to keep.
Wallahi, they love me and the Ayatollah.
Day 25 of the war has brought both relief and confusion.
Trump got a gift? Yeah, it's a gifted sub. The Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, the people, for you, the people. Piker Broadcasting Service, for tomorrow's news today. Piker Broadcasting Service, the best way. That's weird. Your stream said ad break in progress, but show no ads. Yeah, that's because on your end, you probably have an ad blocker because the Piker Broadcasting Service does not run ads. This is an ad-free service. Parky Park 202, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. A Cat for Cutie, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. We do not run any ad breaks at the Piker Broadcasting Service. Ad-free, baby.
Relief that President Trump has not carried out his threat to hit all the power stations in Iran, and the Iranians, therefore, have not carried out their threat to reciprocate in kind. That would have taken the war to a whole new level. But it's brought some confusion because President Trump said that I'm suspending the threat for 5 days because I think I've got a deal. The Iranians have agreed to pretty well everything that I wanted. Well, most of the world is pretty skeptical about that because if you look at the sort of things that divide the United States and Iran, they're pretty big things. We can look at just 4 of them. First of all, the ballistic missile threat. The Iranians have got a lot of ballistic missiles. The Americans say they can't have any of them. Secondly, what is going to happen to the Strait of Hormuz? What will happen to it after some sort of peace deal? Everything's different there now. Thirdly, what about Iran's existing nuclear stocks? They're believed to have 400 kilos of highly enriched uranium somewhere. And fourthly, the broader issues around the region, which the Israelis are pushing, which will be very difficult to resolve, certainly within 4 or 5 days. Let's just look at them in a little bit more detail. So if we think, first of all, about the ballistic missile issue, the Iranians have always tested their missiles at 2,000 kilometers, and they did that so as to include Israel, but not really many other countries. But last weekend, they apparently threw 2 missiles towards Garcia. Now, I'm skeptical as to whether they could have done that. One of them fell short, one was shot down en route. We don't know where it was shot down. I'm not certain that they've actually been able to extend their range from 2,000 to 4,000 kilometres. I remain to be convinced. The one missile that might have done that would be the Gado 110, which is a 2-stage rocket. Maybe they managed to make one stage, the solid fuel stage, go a bit further with a very light warhead. I'm not sure about that. But Iranian ballistic missile capability is certainly quite impressive, and it will remain impressive unless they agree to get rid of all of it. They're very unlikely to do that. The second issue is the question of the Strait of Hormuz. Now, the Iranians have demonstrated, both to themselves and to the world, that they can restrict ships going through the straits. They haven't blocked them, but they've made them dangerous. And at the moment, what the Iranians are saying is that if you're a friendly country, your ships can go through. If you're a neutral country, they can go through if they pay us $2 million each time. And if you're a hostile country, they can't go through at all. So the Iranians have discovered that they can be toll keepers in the Strait of Hormuz. And that's an advantage which they will not give up easily in any negotiations. This is probably a pointer to the future. And the third issue, of course, is their nuclear capabilities. They demand the ability to be a civil nuclear power. But what does that mean in terms of creating a weapon? We don't know. That remains on the table. And fourthly, the issue of regional stability. The Israelis are determined to keep on taking on Hezbollah, to destroy them. They're determined to deal with Hamas. They're determined to deal with the militias, the pro-Iranian militias in Iraq. And they're determined to neutralize, if necessary, the pro-Iranian Houthis in Yemen. So the broader regional context will remain a big, big problem. And that certainly won't be solved in 5 days of even intensive negotiations. And if all this comes to nothing by the weekend, then the Americans have got another military trick up their sleeve. The arrival of the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit from Okinawa, joined by 2,500 troops from San. So they'll have 5,000 or more Marines available to storm ashore somewhere within the whole Gulf region. They may or may not choose to use it. But the fact is that if this week's diplomacy doesn't really get anywhere, the Americans have another military trick up their sleeve. So as of now, we don't know whether this war will take a turn towards peace or a turn towards a new military campaign. But we will know.
Philippines Margot says Mideast war may spur energy talks with China in disputed sea. What I fucking tell you? What I fucking tell you? What did I tell you? That's right, baby. American force projection capabilities are in the shitter, which is causing regional allies with security partnerships with the United States of America to reconsider dealing with the regional superpower, China. Okay? I told you. Now, who knows? I mean, look, I think the independence of the Philippines is, overstated. Didn't you call this literally yesterday? I've been calling this since day 3. When I saw American radar installations get blown to fucking bits and Dubai get peppered with Shahed drones, that's when I said American security partnerships do not protect these countries at all, and every other country that is in the periphery of China is going to reconsider their position. No one wants to be a bullet sponge. Okay, especially when America is moving in this unpredictable, chaotic way that causes other large countries to take military action potentially. Once America is so overextended that it reveals itself to be a paper tiger, a lot of these other countries that have American bases are going to reconsider what those bases mean for them up until this Iranian retaliation. An American base meant protection, right? They were wrong about it, but it doesn't matter. There was still this idea that you were going to be protected by the United States of America. You wouldn't be sovereign. You'd still be a dog to empire, but at the end of the day, you could do your own corrupt little thing, and have a nice life, have a decent, comfortable puppet life. Now the calculation is very different. As America hurries the THAAD interceptors away from South Korea, after causing so much instability for South Korea and a loss of billions of dollars of Chinese investment in South Korea, because in 2016 they put those THAAD interceptors there and China obviously retaliated. All of a sudden, those deals are meant for nothing at all. Those deals don't have any meaning whatsoever. So why did South Korea lose billions of dollars of Chinese investment for no reason? Now that you took those THAAD missiles, THAAD interceptors away, is totally ridiculous. That's why I said that no matter what happens, America has lost this battle. And even if it ends up winning the war somehow, I think the age of American empire is coming to a close, right? There's no guarantee that America will win the war. But I will say that America's lost a much larger war of being able to force project around the world in the ways that it did for decades. The end of history period of time is coming to a close.
Can you give us any more sense of who exactly in Iran it is, either Witkoff and Kushner and others you're speaking with?
Yeah, we had, I hate to say this in front of these young people, they're not children.
Not like Vietnam or Iraq. The financial repercussions of Vietnam and Iraq were nowhere near as consequential as like shutting off the Strait of Hormuz. Okay? The Iranian capabilities are specifically tailor-made for this incident. The backlash from Vietnam and Iraq were contained. They were regional, right? You had Laos, Cambodia, but that was contained. With Iraq, you had the MENA region and the instability that came after that. But again, that was somewhat contained. This war of choice against Iran has made this a global issue, okay? A global issue.
Spoke to most of them, they sound like adults to me, even though they are sort of children, right? They'll always be your children. But I hate to say it, but we killed all their leadership. And then they met to choose new leaders, and we killed all of them. And now we have a new group, and we can easily do that. But let's see how they turn out. We have really regime change. You know, this is a change in the regime because the leaders are all very different than the ones that...
Yeah, Vietnam and surrounding countries weren't producing 20% of the world's oil and 35% of the world's fertilizer inputs when the U.S. attacked them. Exactly. It was a very different time. And even with like Iraq, you could say that Iraq was a major oil producer, but like the energy ministry was kept intact for this specific purpose. So like they could very quickly continue the extractive process with foreign capital. So they just like took over the state run refineries and exchanged ownership and gave it to foreign hands while they kept fighting against all of the ascetic bands of militancies that grew out of the power vacuum that they caused, that the American government caused. Very different set of circumstances. Very different set of circumstances in Iraq versus Iran.
We started off with that, created all those problems. So this was, I think we can say, Jason, this is regime change, right?
What makes you trust them?
I don't trust anybody. I don't trust you. I mean,
are the negotiations real or just market manipulation? Yes, it's market manipulation. The negotiations, as far as we understand, are not real at all. The Iranian side has kept repeatedly saying that the negotiations are fake. We're not negotiating with the Americans, and they're actually doing it for market manipulation. So Donald Trump is molesting the money, but also doing it a controlled molestation, right? Or at least trying to control the molestation to the best of his ability.
That's only because I know you. But if I didn't know you, I'd probably have more trust. But I don't trust anyone.
Why bother
Why
talking
do you?
to them
Why
then?
do you say that? Why do you say what makes you trust? Do you think I trust them? I don't trust them.
Then why bother talking to them?
Because they're going to make a deal. They're going to make a deal. They did something yesterday that was amazing, actually. They gave us a present, and the present arrived today. And it was a very big present worth a tremendous amount of money. And I'm not going to tell you what that present is, but it was a very significant prize. And they gave it to us, and they said they were going to give it. So that meant one thing to me: we're dealing with the right people.
Is that nuclear related?
No, it wasn't nuclear related. It was oil and gas related, and it was a very nice thing they did. But what it showed me is that we're dealing with the right people. Because, you know, you don't know, because the leadership was killed, all gone.
The only thing I can point to with this statement is the Financial Times reporting that came out, right? That stated that Iran says non-hostile ships can transit the Strait of Hormuz. So I guess that could be what they are referencing here, right? Like that could possibly be what the Iranians were willing to concede on, and that might have actually been something that Iran released on its own, and then Trump is actually personally taking credit for it, as though Iran did it for the United States of America. I mean, this could also be read as Iran repeatedly saying that as long as you trade on the Chinese yuan and pay a toll, then you can pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Like, that might be just a reiteration of that deal. Does anyone have a remove paywall for that Financial Times article? Because I would like to read it. Because I don't see Donald Trump. I mean, the Iranians folding in this situation. Here's a gift link for you via my Financial Times subscription. Thank you. Hasan Piker, multi-millionaire, billionaire socialist, champagne socialist, steals gift links from his community, steals their gifted subs. He forces them to offer voluntary subscriptions, and then he steals their gifted links. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Hasan Piker. Iran has circulated a letter to member countries of the International Maritime Organization saying non-hostile vessels can transit the Strait of Hormuz in coordination with Iranian authorities. In the letter circulated among IMO members on Tuesday, shared with the Financial Times, Iran's foreign ministry said Tehran had taken necessary and proportionate measures to prevent the aggressors and their supporters from exploiting the Strait of Hormuz to advance hostile operations against Iran. The critical waterway has been in effect closed to all but a handful of ships since the start of the U.S.-Israel war against Iran on February 28th. Previously, about a fifth of the world's oil passed through the strait, as well as the majority of cargo and container ships serving Gulf countries. About 3,200 ships are stuck in the Gulf, unwilling to risk the transit of the narrow strait, which is just 21 nautical miles wide at its narrowest point. At least 22 vessels have been hit by Iran since the outbreak of the conflict. The IMO, a UN body, sets international standards for shipping, convened an emergency meeting of its members last week to address the crisis. It is in talks to try and establish a humanitarian corridor to allow ships that are running critically low on supplies to exit the Gulf. In recent days, ship tracking data has suggested Iran is permitting a small number of ships to pass via a route in its territorial waters. Analysts believe the route allows Iranian authorities to verify the vessel's identities before letting them transit. Some ships have paid as much as $2 million to Iran to ensure safe passage through the Gulf, according to Lloyd's List Intelligence and one person with knowledge of the situation. I did bring this up. So yeah, I think this is what is going on. They're just restating what the Iranian government has stated since day one, or at least for the last couple of weeks. They've been reiterating that ships, non-hostile ships, can pass through the Strait of Hormuz as long as they, pay a toll. And specifically, I think pay the toll in Chinese yuan as well. So there's some conditions that they're implementing. And what's really interesting about that, of course, is that it's a reiteration that Iran is invested in regional stability and stabilizing the global markets which opens up another leverage point for Iran, right? Not only do they get to forcibly claw back reparations, right? Not only do they get to do that, but also on top of that, it shows the rest of the world that they hold the cards, they control the strait, okay? And last but not least, Ayatollah. Last but not least, this is offering alleviation to the energy crisis. And Iran is saying, like, we want to alleviate the tensions. We want to be a restrained global partner to all these other countries as a sovereign nation, which if countries get, if the energy markets stabilize once again, then it's an even bigger threat that every single attack from Israel and America will be seen as an unstable actor. Do you understand? Like, this is Iran reasserting its dominance over the strait, showing the world that they are invested in stability, and simultaneously showing the world that, like, the non-stable actors here, the destabilizing actors here, the irrational actors here are the Israelis and the Americans, right? It still plays a role in actively trying to decouple middle powers and other regional powers in the Asian markets away from American imperial hegemony. And I think the reason why they're doing this is because they also understand that America's not invested in negotiations at all. I'm a bit skeptical if it's in Iran's interest to make oil markets freak out and go as high as possible. If they aren't inflicting economic pain, then they lose their leverage. Even if the U.S. ships can't go through, the markets will still cool a lot. No, I think here's what I think. Here's my assessment, at least. I think they know that Israel and America are still going to keep bombing. They're still going to keep bombing Iran. But if the markets cool a little bit, and then America and Israel bomb Iran, and then Iran says no more pass through, all of a sudden, people are going to say, well, what the fuck? Iran wants to let us get the necessary resources and commerce. America and Israel don't. I think it's a way to open up a new avenue of leverage. Because if Iran's goal here is to make the regional partners decouple from the United States, which, by the way, is a maximalist position that they probably will not achieve, let's be real. At most, you will cause countries like Qatar, for example, to be a little bit more skeptical about this partnership that they have with the United States of America, but maybe not the UAE or Saudi Arabia. But I feel like we're there right now, but Iran is still viewed as a bad guy. What they say in their correspondence or in their communiques is not what they think. Okay? What France or Germany is saying is very different than what they're thinking. Okay? You have to understand that. And the same goes for all these other countries. They might say, oh, Iran, you're making the world less stable. How are you doing that? But well, simultaneously, they're having, closed door meetings and offering bilateral commitments. If they're doing bilateral commitments with Iran, then Iran is actually achieving a very important goal there, which is to unwind at least some of America's soft power at a time when America has dropped the ball on doing any sort of soft power anyway. Right? I could see that. I just find it a bit unlikely that Iran would allow that much transit to go through, given the windfall they've been getting from oil price being so high and the frustration that is being incurred by the U.S. from partners like in Europe who are not trying to make bilateral deals with Iran. Who's to say they're going to allow countries that don't make bilateral deals with Iran to pass through? The thing you're describing is almost Cold War-esque economic warfare as like a second front, aside from the actual military warfare occurring on the ground. It's perfect asymmetrical warfare tactics. I like your take on this a lot. They get told and erode what is left of the U.S. credibility at the same time. Yeah, also, every single ship that passes through and pays a toll to Iran is American power diminishing in the world. Because that means Iran controls the strait. Okay? Every single ship that passes through and gets the go-ahead from Iran is absolutely playing a role in diminishing American power and American force projection capabilities. That's it. This is an unbelievable gift to China. An unbelievable gift to China. I suspect they're aware of this. I think they are. I saw a Chinese foreign policy paper that was talking about this in like very selfish terms. As you know, Chinese foreign policy often is known to be very selfish, very self-interested. And what I'm reading, and it's great for Russia too, of course. But what I wonder is if China will tilt the scales a little bit. Because I don't think China wants the Gulf to perish. Because if the Gulf perishes, China loses its major oil contracts. Their major oil and gas providers come from the Gulf, right? From the GCC states. So they have to tilt the scales a little bit in favor of Iran so that America will back down. But if they don't see that, which I suspect they do, right? If they think that Iran can just like sit this one out and white knuckle through this process and be able to destroy American hegemony, or at least cripple American hegemony as it has done so in the past 25 days, that's a dangerous risk. That's a dangerous gambit. Because if America and Israel's goals are achieved here, this will cause complete chaos. And the oil markets will shift dramatically. There will be complete chaos around the world, especially in all the countries in and around the South China Sea. Okay, and America will be one of the singular energy providers for the rest of the planet, including for China. Okay, so they have to try and, like, at some point, how would China tilt the scales? They're not going to get involved militarily in their stances. You should all just calm the fuck down and negotiate now. I think China knows a bit more and has a bit more brainstorming power than you, bro. Lol. Okay, I understand that and I agree with that. But you have, like, I'm just, you know, I'm still going to provide analysis. This is like saying America has contingencies, bro. Okay. The reason why I don't take seriously at face value statements like that is the same reason why I'm still going to say, like, what China could potentially do, especially because, like I said, the escalation ladder still has a room to go, right? There's still room to go up on the escalation ladder. And if America's larger goals here are to just drop the Gulf in its entirety and allow it to perish as a major energy resource for the rest of the fucking planet, with hopes that they can quickly accelerate their refinement process in the United States of America and reroute logistics away from the Gulf, which is very far away from America, and become an even greater energy exporter than it already is, okay? Which is, I think, what America is like. The only materialist interpretation of what America's goals might be in this process is that then China has to tell Iran not to blow up the refineries, no matter what, because that would harm China's interests. China's Wang Yi tells Iran talks are better than war. China urges starting peace talks on Iran as soon as possible. See? Qatar Energy has declared force majeure on some of its affected long-term LNG supply contracts with counterparties, including customers in Italy, Belgium, South Korea, and China. This might be a popular mindset in the Trump circle. I don't know if America will just pull out without taking control over the control of Hormuz. Yeah, General Mattis, Iran right now, if we declared victory, they would now say they own the strait. You'd see a tax for every ship that goes through. We're in a tough spot, ladies and gentlemen. I can't identify a lot of options. Oh, my Lord. We're fucking winning, baby. We're winning. How about you focus on what your government is doing? What? Americans need to shut the fuck up about China. Handle your own affairs. No, that's ridiculous. Okay. Of course, I'm going to offer analysis for what China could be doing in favor of China, mind you. I'm not even talking about, like, you know, China engaging in a moral act. Hold on. I have to write this real quick. iDubbbz raid. Hey, iDubbbz, thank you for the raid. Hope you had a good stream, brother.
Khomeini, all gone, as the expression goes, the past supreme leader. And then the new supreme leader was racked up, at a minimum racked up pretty good, and everyone else was gone. And then many of the people in the third tier are gone, but we're dealing with a group of people that I think turn out, and the present, the gift they made to us was very significant, and they said they were going to do it, and it happened, and they're the only ones that could have done it. Jennifer?
Was it related to the Strait of Hormuz and the flow of...
Yeah, it was related to the flow and to the strait, yeah, it was.
Are you negotiating on who's going to control the strait from now on?
No, we'll have control of anything we want. Look, if we can...
Israeli diplomat believes Trump is not talking to someone different. High-level commander of the IRGC. Ambassador Michael Oren tells Fox News he believes the U.S. is not talking to either Ghalibaf or Arakchi, that the administration is talking to someone high up in the IRGC command structure. Doubtful. But we'll see.
And this, without more lives being down, without knocking out $10 billion electric plants that are brand new and the apple of their eye. I'd like to be able to do that, you know. But they can't have certain things. I mean, you know the things. I don't have to go over the list, but again, it starts with no nuclear weapons, and they've agreed to that. There won't be any nuclear weapons. They're not going to have, and they're not going to have enrichment, any of those things. But look, I hate to say that we're in a very good bargaining position.
Are you going to send Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff to do direct negotiations with the Iranians?
Yeah, well, we're in negotiations, as it turned out, and now you've seen what I said yesterday was exactly correct. We're in negotiations right now. They're doing it along with Marco, JD. We have a number of people doing it, and the other side, I can tell you, they'd like to make a deal. And who wouldn't if you were there? Look, their Navy's gone, their Air Force is gone, their communications are gone. That's the biggest problem. It's very hard to communicate them between themselves. All of the anti-aircraft is gone. Most of their missiles are gone. We either shot them or they shot them and don't have them anymore. They're down to a trickle. They're pretty much everything they have is gone. I don't know. Can you name one thing that's not gone, or can you name one thing that's doing well? You know, if you read the papers, you think we're tied. You think we're in a tough battle. We are roaming free over Tehran, the city, Tehran, as opposed to Iran. We're roaming free. We can do whatever we want. And as you know, today we were going to have the privilege of shooting down a very big electric generation plant, one of the biggest in the world. And one shot to the right location ends the plant, it collapses. And we held off based on the fact that we're negotiating. Yeah.
What do you think was the turning point to make you want to pursue a ceasefire? A few days ago, you said you wanted to continue bombing Iran. Now you want to pursue peace talks. Was there something that happened?
The fact that they're talking to us and they're talking sense. And remember, it all starts with they cannot have a nuclear weapon. Just, I said yesterday, they said, what are the top 10? I said, well, number 1, 2, and 3 is they can't have a nuclear weapon. And they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. And we're talking about that. And I don't want to say in advance, but they've agreed they will never have a nuclear weapon. They've agreed to that.
Are you encouraging our allies in the Gulf to be more involved in the Iran operation?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit, but more NATO. I think our Gulf allies have been pretty good, to be honest with you. UAE's been hit so hard. He got hit by 1,400 rockets, shot them all out of the air with our great Patriot missiles. Think of it, they shot 100 missiles at one of our aircraft carriers, the Abraham Lincoln, one of the biggest ships in the world, actually. And out of 101 missiles shot, every single one of them was knocked down in the sea. Think of that. Think of what that means. 101 missiles, highly sophisticated, very fast missiles shot. Out of 101, all 101 were shot down, and now, for the most part, lie at the bottom of the sea. It's pretty amazing, right? Pretty amazing. Our military is amazing, Pete. You know the attack I'm talking.
Yeah, a lot of random accidents happening in the region. It's just so unfortunate that so many random, purely happenstance accidents keep materializing over and over again. And I just can't seem to place my finger on it. We've lost 15 to 20 planes at this point. Many also need repairs now, shadow tankers that need repairs. USS Gerald Ford, now decommissioned. like out of business for what, 14 months. It's the salty air of the sea. Yeah, it's a real suspicious moment. F-15s getting taken out by friendly fire incidents. F-35, an F-35 eating a pretty significant blow to American air superiority in his next-gen fighters. Better hurry up on that F-47, boys. For the Boeing boys in the chat. F-47 for President number 47. Believe it. That will be the next-gen fighter. Running out of Iraq to Kurdish areas. Yeah, that's not good either.
Talking about.
Not gonna lie, if you think the Gerald R. Ford was hit, you're really dumb as fuck. I'm sorry. I don't know if the Gerald R. Ford was hit. I don't have enough evidence to suggest that. But according to the new reports that are coming out, the issues on Gerald R. Ford are far more consequential than what we previously thought they were, considering that it's going to be decommissioned for like, what, 14 months. Whether it's sabotage or, whether it's internal sabotage, mutiny, or direct hits from some kind of Iranian boat. I mean, both are still pretty bad incidents for, again, American military superiority. Speaking of weird coincidental accidents, did we talk about the Valero Refinery fire? Once again, even with the Valero Refinery fire, it's like accelerated production, because that's a facility that handles heavy crude, right? Venezuelan heavy crude, as a matter of fact. Accelerated production, dog shit facilities in the United States of America could have absolutely been an accident. Like, it's another one of those instances where, like, is it likely that, like, there was Iranian sabotage on U.S. soil? I don't think so. I think that's a far too sophisticated thing to plan and pull off. I don't think it's within the capabilities of Iran. I would chalk that up to the decline of American industry more than anything else. They explode incredibly often in the U.S. But also on top of that, like I said, there is accelerated production right now. I can totally see that. No, it would not be Israel. You're out of your dang mind. Oh, you mean like Israel doing a false flag and blaming it on Iran? Maybe, but no, even then, I think the highest probability here is definitely, it's some kind of, update. Shelter in place lifted, roads reopened, no injuries in the Valero fire explosion. Judge Brannick said the fire was out at 3:30 a.m. Small ground fires persisted after that. Washington Elementary, Lincoln, what is it? Sent black smoke and flames soaring in the air above a heater unit and rocked homes far from the plant, but resulted in no injuries. Valero saying it is accounted for all of its workers. Shelter in place impacted, no evacuations. Crews got water to the fire and worked to put it out. By 9:30, crews in Port Arthur saw only flaring at the plant with no other flames visible. All right, where the fuck is the assessment? Oh, Sheriff Zena Stevens and Port Arthur Police Chief Tim DeRiso tell KFDM News there are no reported injuries. Says the fire involves a heater unit. Currently, there is a fire in a unit at Valero's Port Arthur, Texas Refinery. All personnel being accounted for. Okay. All right, there is nothing. There's not really much here. As someone that lives in Texas coastal area, these plants randomly explode all the time. This one's just especially big. No way it's sabotage. Yeah, I think the more likely event that occurred is that increased production, facilities poorly maintained. These things do have a tendency to fucking have flare-ups like this, and I suspect that it happened because of, once again, accelerated production. So, faulty heater, bad maintenance, could be a million different reasons.
Recently, 101 shot. I said, wow. I saw that. You can see we have sort of pretty good equipment that we see. It's called the red line. Those red lines were thick, right? I said, that's a lot. And then we saw them one by one just get shot. And these guys that do the shooting are the coolest cucumbers ever. Most people, you don't have a lot of time. When a missile's going at 2,500 miles an hour, I don't care how far away it is, you don't have a lot of time. But I watched them sit down and think. Great students, MITs, a lot of MITs, a lot of guys like this are not as much into the muscle as they are this one right here. And amazing to watch them perform under great pressure, because they have a matter of seconds to do it. If they don't do it properly, it's a big problem, you know, because these were powerful. These were very powerful missiles coming. And so a lot of people choke. They don't choke. These guys don't choke. They're the best in the world. We have the best in the world.
How hopeful are you that this peace deal will work out, like as a human,
On what?
on a human level, not as the President of the United States? How hopeful are you that this peace deal will work out with Iran?
You're talking about to end it? Well, I think we're going to end it. I can't tell you for sure. You know, I don't like to say this. We've won this. This war has been won. The only one that likes to keep it going is the fake news. I mean, the New York Times, you read the New York Times, it's like we're not winning a war where they have no Navy and they have no Air Force and they have no nothing. And we literally have planes flying over Tehran and other parts of their country. They can't do a thing about it. For instance, if I want to take down that power plant, that very big, powerful power plant, they can't do a thing about it. It's like, take me. That's all they can do. And yet, if you read the New York Times or if you watch ABC fake news or NBC fake news, you'd say it's a close battle. It's not a close battle. They're totally defeated.
You said there's a bunch of people from the administration who are negotiating with Iran. There's been reports that the vice president is leading those negotiations. Is that true?
Well, he's involved in them. JD is involved, and Marco's involved, and Jared Kushner's involved, very smart guy, and Steve Witkoff, smart guy, is involved. And I'm involved. I'm involved. Why? I'm going to be so big. Oh, I don't want to talk about it. I'm the President of the United States, Tom, and I'm not going to talk about it. It's beneath me to talk about saving millions of lives, because that's what you're talking about. You're talking about saving millions of lives. If Iran had a nuclear weapon, they would have used it. And if I didn't end the horrible Barack Hussein Obama Iran nuclear deal in my first administration, they would have had a nuclear weapon 3 or 4 years ago. They would have used it. I would have never gotten the chance probably to be president. Who knows what it would have been so devastating. And if we didn't send those beautiful B-2 bombers, they took them off my desk. They were right there. I don't know why. But if we didn't have those beautiful, the B-2 hit, which was so we obliterated, despite CNN. CNN said, well, maybe the word obliteration said, no, we obliterated it, just obliterated their nuclear potential. You would have had them having 2 weeks after that attack, had we not made the attack, they would have had a nuclear weapon. They would have absolutely used it, and they would have used it on the entire Middle East, including it.
It's kind of strange to me that, like, we just carry this conversation over and over again, and everybody knows it's a lie. I guess with the exception of, like, some of the diehard Republican loyalists, like the cultists, most people know that this is bullshit, right? Especially because, like, Trump himself in the past, after the 12-day war, was like giving assurances that the nuclear weapon conversation was done, right? It's so strange that they're just constantly going back and forth on this bullshit. Like, everybody knows it's not the fucking goal here at all. Like, who is this for? His base already believes them. Just come on, just stop repeating it, you know?
Israel. And you know why you see that? Because unexpectedly, when this war broke out, unexpectedly, they started sending missiles to UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait.
Unexpectedly, they started bombing our bases when we were bombing them. So unexpected. Why would they do such a thing? Don't you know it's illegal?
On Saudi Arabia, there's been some reporting that you've been talking to the Crown Prince. It's on normalization between Saudi Arabia and Israel.
Well, no, we have a great relationship with Saudi Arabia. What do you hear with Saudi Arabia?
Just hearing that you've been talking and that he has been encouraging you to do certain things related to Iran. Can you share?
Well, he's a warrior. He does. Yeah, he's a warrior. He's fighting with us, by the way. Saudi Arabia has been excellent, and UAE, excellent. And I will tell you, Qatar, incredible. Qatar took a hit, a pretty bad hit. Qatar's very close, you know, they're essentially, you can walk right over the border. Qatar took a hit. They've been great. They've been very strong. Kuwait, they had a little mishap. They shot down 3 planes with our missiles.
That's awesome. A little mishap. Look at him smiling, by the way. That's crazy. That's crazy, bro. Bro, you are a participant. You're the president. You're the commander in chief. You're not watching from afar, man. Those are your planes. It's literally the fucking meme, my tax dollars, somehow also my tax dollars in real time.
They're going to make a deal.
It was a giant wooden horse, yeah. There's a beautiful horse. They said it honors me. It gives me an honor. Many of these European partners have not honored me. They took away my Nobel Peace Prize, but the Iranians, on the other hand, they've honored me by giving me a big, beautiful horse, the most beautiful. It's massive.
They happen to be our planes, but the pilots made it. Can you imagine the pilots saw what was coming?
Wait, what? Did you guys hear like a Steam thing? Yeah, I know. It's because Will invited me to play Deadlock. I'm not downloading a game. It's because Will, knowing full well that I'm live, invited me to play Deadlock with him, which I don't even have. U.S. seeking 1-month ceasefire to hold Iran talks, Channel 12. Oh, buddy. Oh, this is great.
And they said, those are patriots. We're not going to escape patriots. And they got out of there pretty quick, Pete, right? Pretty amazing that they got out. The 3 pilots lived. They're fine. In fact, they're flying today.
Not out of Kuwait, though.
Yeah, the Kuwaitis made a mistake. They fired. They thought they were firing at the enemy. It was, as the expression goes, friendly fire. But the pilots are great. They're flying today. Pretty amazing, right? When you think of it. Yeah.
Iranian attacks continued to target sites across the Gulf this Tuesday. In Kuwait, power lines were hit by air defense shrapnel, causing partial electricity outages for several hours. Bahrain, meanwhile, said it was attacked with missiles and drones, and that an Emirati soldier serving with its forces had been killed. The United Arab Emirates, meanwhile, saying air defense systems responded to similar attacks, and Saudi Arabia said it destroyed Iranian drones targeting its oil-rich eastern province. Well, for more now, we can cross to our correspondent in Doha, Hoda Abdelhamid. Hoda, the New York Times today is reporting that Saudi Crown Prince MBS, that he's pushing for the US to keep the war with Iran going.
Hasan, I love you, even though you say mean stuff about Kamala. That's so funny. All right, well, thanks for watching, chat. Or maybe, hopefully, if you maintain charitability in my commentary, you'll understand why I'm so critical of figures like Kamala Harris.
What would the thinking be, do you think, behind that reported encouragement?
Well, I think the thinking for Saudi Arabia is at this stage, the Gulf is so unprotected that...
New leader of the RGC has one message for American soldiers: come closer. For years, we've been awaiting the Americans' entry into designated points, and for over 2 decades, we've been training with the asymmetric warfare strategy for this very moment. Now we have just one message for the American soldiers: come closer. My Lord. Holy shit. Every fucking day, dude. Tehran mocks Trump's gift claim with a missile strike video. Iranian media published footage of what it said was his first successful ground-to-ground missile strike directed at the U.S. base in Erbil, and describing it as a gift we send to Trump, according to Mer News. The framing appears to directly mock Trump's Oval Office remarks, where he claimed that Iran had given the U.S. a present, a very big present, a very significant prize tied to an oil and gas concession. Fars News, citing an Iranian army statement, said the strike targeted a key U.S. position at Erbil Airport, describing it as a major support and command center housing a wide range of military equipment and systems. The statement also said the site serves as a headquarters for separatist groups supported by the Zionist regime, and that Iran accuses of destabilizing its western and northwestern borders. It's so crazy. Every fucking day, bro. Every day. Trump will be like, that's it. The Iranians, they're doing us a great deal. They're doing us a great deal. They love us. They're terrified of us. They're so scared. And the Iranians are like, yeah, we're so scared. Here, watch this. They're literally like, yep, catch this, bitch. Every fucking time. It's so wild. Like, especially considering that this inconsistency seemingly doesn't have a negative, volatile impact on the markets, right? Like, they might as well just stop fighting. They might as well just stop fighting. They might as well retreat and then just lie about it. You know what I mean? It has nothing to do with, it has nothing to do with like whatever is happening on the ground anyway. So you might as well just be like, yep, we're still blowing up Iran. Just keep saying that. And then Iran is so terrified. Any day now, any day, the Iranian government will be toppled, you know? Because like the markets are so desperate for stability that they are just inventing stability. They literally are just making it up. There is no stability right now, none whatsoever, right? It is the most volatile, most insane market manipulation I've ever encountered. And the only time where it was this insane was the last time Donald Trump did the fucking Liberation Day shit. So obviously, yeah, I brought this up, but as far as the market manipulation, yeah, I said they're raping the land and pillaging everyone else in the process. Unbelievable. Financial Times exclusive. Traders made bets worth $500 million in the oil market about 15 minutes before Donald Trump's post touting productive talks with Iran sent the price of crude tumbling. If we had a functioning SEC, this would be a problem, except we don't. And this has to be someone in the Trump family, by the way. There is 0% chance that even like a general or someone else in the fucking room would engage in this. Like it has to be directly related to him, right? Like directly. It's unfucking believable how transparent this market manipulation and insider trading is. And yet, you know, crime is legal. What are you supposed to do? Traders made bets worth $500 million in the oil markets 15 minutes before Donald Trump's post touting productive talks with Iran sent the price of crude tumbling and ignited volatility in other assets. Roughly 6,200 Brent and West Texas Intermediate futures contracts changed hands between 6:49 a.m. and 6:50 a.m. New York Times on Monday, just a quarter of an hour ahead of U.S. President's post on Truth Social that there had been in recent days productive conversations with Tehran to end the war in Iran. The notional value of these trades was $580 million, according to Financial Times calculations based on Bloomberg data. Trading volumes for Brent and WTI leapt at the same time, 27 seconds before 6:50 a.m. Futures tracking the S&P 500 share index jumped in price moments after the oil trade, with volumes also rising significantly during that time frame. It was not known whether one entity or several entities were behind Monday's trades. Trump's announcement at 7:04 a.m. Oh, Sky News covered it.
Normally, in these screens, in the last few weeks, we've been talking about the economic implications of the Iran war. But this time I want to talk about something else. It's kind of a mystery story. It's a mystery.
Is it a mystery story? Wow, I wonder who did it. Who did the murder? It can't be the guy with the bloody knife in his hand, right? Guys, there was a knife attack. Who could it have been?
Story. The mystery
very suspicious.
Begins.
Someone said Taryn Brump.
With this. This was the Donald Trump social media post, Truth Social, that for a lot of people made them think that maybe this war might be coming to an end. At the very least, it had a big impact on markets. And
I think what's funny about this also is that Trump has presented himself as an unreliable narrator of events regardless. Like, so the markets are also engaging in this like idiocy by treating his statements like any other president. Okay? So there's that element here as well. Like the market stabilizing after this this revelation is also stupid in and of itself. It's so stupid. Like there is a lot of wish casting here where there's a lot of people who know that this is bullshit, but they play along with it. They play along with it because, you know, it's more beneficial. There is no more market fundamentals at play here, like not even a little bit. Trump's decision to postpone the Hormuz ultimatum was aimed in part at calming markets, according to people familiar with the matter. The markets only have eyes for Truth Social posts.
the thing I want you to focus on is not necessarily the text of this, but it's the time it came out. 11:05, that's UK time. So 11:05 in the UK, it was morning.
They're just making short-term gains. The same people who stabilize the market will be the ones driving the sell-off next week. Yeah. It's a bunch of fucking corrupt vultures. Yeah, the markets are really scared, so they take any news as good news, but it's total cope. I mean, we saw this happen already. That's why I kept saying money is the most fake it's ever been, and tomorrow it's going to be even faker. Okay? We saw this with the Liberation Day saga. We experienced this with the Liberation Day saga, where Donald Trump came in and said, we're doing blanket tariffs on every country on the fucking planet for no reason, right? And the moment that there was any sort of respite from this idiocy, the markets were like, oh, thank God. $7 trillion in value wiped out, and then $7 trillion in value materialized once again. It's like, come on, man. You cannot have a normal system like this. And every single one of these instances where Trump insiders are the only ones who are capable of making these decisions because they're operating with insider information, like, you end up unironically consolidating insane amounts of wealth in the hands of an even smaller amount of people. That's all this is. Where will this go? Will this go to a future where there's like 10 trillionaires and then everyone else is fucking broke and dying on the streets? Like, is that what we're going to do? Is that a world that you want to live in anyway? I don't understand it.
Earlier in the morning in the US, obviously. And look at the impact that this had. Okay, so this is showing you the crude oil price. It's the US kind of benchmark of the crude oil price, WTI as it's known. And you can probably spot already the moment that Donald Trump post happened. The oil price went down really sharply, and we've had lots of ups and downs, lots of volatile days on markets in recent days.
I should post that on my IG.
Was something else. As traders went out there and they basically said, we're selling oil because we think that things might get a little bit better. But here's what I want to focus on that you don't normally see in these charts. Not just the price, so that's the oil price, but the volumes. You can actually look at this. You can look at just how many people are buying and selling at any given moment. And have a look at volumes. So these bars are showing you the volumes. So at the given moment that obviously that Donald Trump post happened, you had this massive increase in a lot of people going out there into the market and say, look, something's happening. We need to actually act on it. For the most case, selling at this point. But here's the curious thing, and here's kind of where the mystery is. I want to kind of zoom in on this area here. So I'll kind of zoom in so you can see this is just the volumes of people going into that oil market and kind of, for the most part, selling after that Donald Trump post. You can see there's...
By the way, this is just pure, like, this is futures. This is a futures market, right? There's also the motherfucking poly market bets, too. Like, every part of this is bunk. And once again, you can't even prosecute poly market, even though there's very clearly insider trading taking place. And you might ask the question, why? And that's because Donald Trump Jr. is sitting on the regulatory board, and that's not going to happen anyway. You are pocket watching and jealous. I just don't understand how this is seen as a sustainable system and how so many motherfuckers are just like sitting around thinking, it's fine. It'll be fine. So it'll fix itself. Or, better yet, they're just completely oblivious. Like, life goes on for them. They just don't think about it at all. I don't understand how you can live like this. Before the war started, WTI oil was $60, $65. War starts, goes up to 100, and then it goes down to 90. The market acts like everything is amazing, despite the fact that the price is still $25 to $30 higher than in February. Same thing happened with the tariffs. Tariffs shit apart, then gained back a quarter of it, and the market acts like things are better than ever. Yeah. By the way, this is literally the Trump method. I described this during Liberation Day, and even before then, I saw this in Trump 1 as well. He breaks things 100%, then claws it back to like 50%, and everybody goes, "Oh, we got 50% liberated." He molests things, and then scales back the molestation, and then everyone goes, "Oh, thank God, we're saved." It's fucking ridiculous. The money is still 50% molested in that process. It's a classic Trump bargain. He does this all the fucking time. New York Times says there's a 15-plan point to end the war. U.S. has sent Iran a 15-point plan to end the war in the Middle East. Oh, I've tried many times to understand the stock market, but I can't. Can you explain what this exactly means? What do you mean this is not real money? I want to know so I can fight my cynic liberal boyfriend on this. I don't know how to explain it. Stocks that are traded on the stock market are supposed to be traded on fundamentals, like market fundamentals. Like in the past, when a company had new technology, okay, their stock prices increased. They had a more valuable product. It doesn't work that way anymore. Everything is financial engineering. It's not anchored around anything but speculation. And And given the market consolidation that has taken place in the stock market as well, where 90% of the stock market is owned by the top 10% of earners in the country, the top 10% of wealth in this country, there's tremendous consolidation. So there's like markets move in a certain direction very quickly. It's not democratized at all. It's not like, $1, one vote. It's not a system like that. And because it's sometimes three companies owning 70% of the gains, for example, and other times it's like all of the money is in the hands of the wealthiest people. It's in their vested interest to keep up with this lie. Like, one of the examples I used to use was the Tesla valuations, right? Tesla became such a behemoth with so many institutions closely tied to Tesla's success that anytime Elon Musk lied, right, and then was shown to be a liar over and over again, people just kind of went along with the lie because they had a vested interest in the Tesla stock prices going up because they'd bought into it. That's part of the reason why I always say the way the stock market works is if it's doing well, it's not doing well for you necessarily. You might think so because you have a 401k. This makes the average working class individual think that they have a stake in the stock market doing well, but it's not actually doing well for you at all. The gains you're making are marginal. It's inconsequential. But when it's doing poorly, that's when you actually suffer because you see job losses, right? You see scale backs in our productive output. The gains are privatized and the losses are socialized. Stocks are real money, as in you can cash it out at any time, but increasingly the value of companies is not actually based in their intrinsic value, profits, assets, innovation, etc., but based on hype. It always has been to an extent, but it's gotten worse, especially if 401ks take up a huge market shares and just sit there. The state has propped it up, and normal people are trading now. I don't necessarily think it's because of retail traders that the stock market is so unbelievably busted. I don't think it's true at all. I think it's the exact opposite. I think it's the consolidation of ownership of most stocks in the hands of a select few institutional traders that has created this system. I think that it's actually the institutional traders as opposed to the retail traders that are the reason why the stocks are not reliable at all. I mean, they're not based around the fundamentals that they were supposed to theoretically be in. Stay in your lane, bro, stocky. I mean, again, this is not my forte at all. This is not my area of expertise at all. I don't even fucking own stocks, as you guys know, famously. So I could be totally off base here, but this is just the way I see it. That's why I say money is fake. It's fucking, I'm too stupid to understand it, but it just feels so fake to me. The thing about retail traders is the institutional traders now follow their expectations of what retail traders will do. So it's kind of both at once. I think there is a vested interest in the stock market constantly being in a fucking bull market. That's what it is. Whether retail traders are actually, movers and shakers at all doesn't really matter. I think that it's more so that everyone involved in the stock market assumes that it's always going to grow. Okay? Stock always goes up. And the government has actually done everything in its fucking power to make sure that the stock market is always going up. And that's what Donald Trump does. That's what Donald Trump's big thing is, right? He's the most responsive to market moves. If you want to take him out, just destroy the stock market. Now, the problem here, bro, you're right. The market is determined by the movements in it. If few people hold the most stocks and they can make it look however they want to, that's what I think is going on. I don't think it's like retail traders that are going, oh, Donald Trump on Truth Social said that, a deal is imminent. I think it's actually the institutional traders that control a large share of the stock market that go, oh, thank God. And the only reason why they do that is because they have a vested interest in the stock market stabilizing. A company like SpaceX has no reason to IPO at over $1 trillion, given its assets of $50 billion total, but retail traders are extremely excited about it, so it'll likely be valued at 1.2 to 1.5 trillion. It's just one part of the puzzle, though. Yeah, retail is 10% of stocks is true. I don't think it's I don't think they're moving they're moving the markets at all. I think they have the capacity to, like with what we saw with GameStop, right? They sometimes have the capacity to, but they don't have the fucking necessary volume to move the markets in the way that like institutional traders can. I just don't. The real money makers are making the banks with the making bank with the volatility. Most bank on it. They buy futures in the hold, and in the hold, the price will go up. Most average people's exposure in the market is passively through a 401k or IRA accounts, and typically those are against some kind of index like the S&P 500. The market is propped up right now by the tech sector, and so much of that hinges on AI hype. Mind you, 80% of U.S. jobs are in services, which AI companies claim they want to automate. Very cool. Yeah, some's got to give. I mean, the contradictions that exist with the only indicator that the economy is doing well by people in positions of power, stock market doing well, is unironically having the exact opposite effect on the real economy, the economy that you think of when you think of the economy doing well for the average ordinary working class individuals. Like it has a depressive depressive aspect on regular working class folks, but the stock market is doing well. So all the fucking money holders, all the real power brokers, they think the stock market is doing well. So Trump's job performance is fine, right? It's doing all right, especially if they're close to Donald Trump. The closer they are, the more they can make these sorts of shady trades. We're saying goodbye to the Sora app. To everyone who created with Sora, shared it, and built community around it, thank you. What you made with Sora mattered, and we know this news is disappointing. Oh no. We'll share more soon, including timelines for the app and API and details on preserving your work, the Sora team. No. Not the Sora app. Not my Sora. Cause exit liquidity is always assured for these fucks in the form of 401ks. The problem is backlash from said exit would make it so that the slush fund of 401ks would go away from the inevitable regulation Glass-Steagall 2.0 or worse, so everything must be propped up at all costs. No, not my AI slop, dude. What the fuck? Anyway, let's continue.
There's a real spike in activity. A lot of people going in there, kind of this frenzy, and that's the kind of flip side of prices. But look at this. 15 minutes before that Donald Trump post, there was a very big amount of trading volume. Very big. In fact, actually, when you're looking at that amount of volume, that spike, that was the biggest trading volume that we saw that day. We're starting here just at 8 o'clock in the morning. We're going through to that moment of the Donald Trump post. Relatively quiet volumes, not much going on in the market, and then all of a sudden that. And if you're wondering, okay, maybe this was just a one-off, it was someone who made a lucky bet. Have a look not just at this. So this is WTI, it's one measure, the US measure of oil. Have a look at Brent, which is the kind of the European, seen as the international measure of oil. Again, the same thing. Donald Trump makes his post, flurry of activity, lots of people there. But look at that. Again, 15 minutes before that Donald Trump post, a very big trade. Now, it's unclear whether it's just an individual or whether it's a kind of group of people, but what you do know from just imputing what the potential value, the notional value of those trades just on oil would be, it is staggering amounts of money, life-changing amounts of money, $580 million. Someone has just made a real killing on this. And it's not just oil. So that's oil, two different measures of oil. But now have a look at the S&P 500. So this is S&P 500 futures. It's the biggest kind of exchange, stock market, equity market in the world. Same thing again. Donald Trump posts, the price goes up because people are getting very hopeful at the same time. And if we zoom into the volumes, once again, what do you see? Obviously, there's the volume after Donald Trump made his post, but 15 minutes before, this is actually 10:50 UK time, a very, very big trade. As I say, life-changing amounts of money, hundreds of millions of dollars were potentially made in those moments in this curious trade that seemed to come out of nowhere, leaving a lot of people wondering, was this just luck? Or did someone actually know what the president was about to say?